This is Tim Bryce with my column entitled Man vs. Numbers. In the April 28, 2014 issue of the Wall Street Journal, an orthopedic surgeon from Santa Barbara, Dr. Daniel F. Craviotto, Jr., wrote an interesting column entitled A Doctor's Declaration of Independence. In it, he vented the medical community's frustration with the ever-growing number of federal rules and regulations. He rightfully contended government bureaucracy is inhibiting doctors from practicing medicine. Craviotto argued the doctor-patient relationship should be of paramount importance, but due to today's numerous regulations, doctors and nurses are spending more time processing paperwork than taking care of their patients. You may remember me discussing this a few years ago in my column called My Dinner with the Doctor. Let me shift gears for a moment. You may recall in an earlier column called Beware of the MBAs, I contended there was a growing trend in management whereby more emphasis is being placed today on managing numbers as opposed to people. I'm seeing more and more of this in business. It is no longer a matter of sharpening people skills, but more a matter of crunching numbers. I refer to this as neutralizing humanity in the workplace. Managers today study numbers as opposed to workers, vendors, and customers. This leads me to believe their priorities have shifted. Let me give you an example. I have a business friend who recently told me of his company's system for customers returning products due to problems. It could be damage, missing documentation, a wrong or missing part, or any other criteria preventing the product from being used by the customer. Such a system is common in many companies today. Inevitably, his manager wanted to change the procedures of the system. Due to the complexity of their products, it can take up to an hour to enter all the documentation, photographs, and everything else going on into a problem report. It next goes to the person responsible for the error and charged with correcting it. When solved, they close the report, which is then returned to the original customer service rep, who must click the Verify Close button on the computer screen, and all is done. If they are not satisfied, though, they reopen the case. The manager wanted to change this procedure by having the customer service reps just click on the Verify Close button, and if a problem persisted, to open up a new case. His reasoning? The number of cases reopened would make him look bad to his superiors. In other words, he thought the numbers were more important than addressing the problem of why cases were being reopened. Now let's bring the doctors and the managers together. What we are witnessing is a concerted attempt to turn humans into insensitive machines. In the doctor's case, federal bureaucracy takes precedence over doctor-patient relationships. In the business world, managers are taught to think only in terms of occurrences. For example, making a cold call, visiting a customer, so on. Concepts such as salesmanship, service, hospitality, and so on are considered antiquated concepts. Numbers are king. As another example, let us consider the public education system, where it is no longer a matter of teaching students to reason and communicate, but to simply memorize facts and take tests. This is leading to a generation of people who are socially handicapped and easier to micromanage. Today, there is less emphasis on developing people who are caring and thinking, and more on passing tests in order to earn supplemental government funding. The federal government's Common Core initiative will only compound this problem. Teachers are also frustrated and are beginning to abandon their profession as they come to the realization they are being judged more by numbers as opposed to the students they teach, thereby causing them to lose empathy and concern for the well-being of their students. The emphasis on numbers is dehumanizing and represents a significant change in our culture. It means we are losing what was once called the common touch, also known as personal touch. It is analogous to driving an automobile by its dials and gauges alone, such as the odometer, speedometer, tachometer, gas gauge, and so on. These are useful tools, but we cannot become obsessed by them. The human being still drives the car. We must be mindful of the dials and gauges, but we must never take our eyes off the road, for if we do, disaster will inevitably ensue. We could certainly drive the car without the dials and gauges, but run the risk of speeding, going too slow, overheating, or running out of gas. However, we cannot drive the car simply by dials and gauges. Maybe the millennials will adapt, but it will likely represent the death knell of the baby boomers who are more accustomed to interpersonal relations. Managers and doctors like Craviotto, who are in their 50s or older, are likely to abandon their profession as they are being pushed to the brink. Think I'm kidding? Talk to the older doctor on your next visit and ask about his satisfaction with current government regulations. Also talk to the managers who have been on the job for 30 or more years and ask if they have witnessed any changes in terms of how customers, employees, and vendors are handled. And finally, ask your offspring in school to give a 3-minute dissertation on a current event in the news, or simply this article, and have them be prepared to argue their position. One thing that should become evident, it's no longer about humanity, just numbers. This approach to social engineering could be construed as a 21st century version of a lobotomy intended to make the patients more docile and easier to manipulate. Between the emphasis on numbers, government programs encouraging such behavior, the influence of the media, and the excessive use of technology, we are witnessing a significant change in the thinking patterns of people. Just remember, the word man is embedded in the word management for a reason. Friends, keep the faith. This is Tim Bryce in Palm Harbor, Florida. Follow me on the internet at timbryce.com.